Before any government ever lied to you, you had already learned to lie to yourself. And that first lie, the one you don't even hear anymore, is where every cage begins. You wake up before your alarm, not from anxiety, just from that dull weight you've stopped naming. You scroll through headlines, corruption, betrayal, promises broken. And somewhere beneath your irritation, a quiet thought surfaces. At least I'm not like them. At least I tell the truth. But do you? Not the big lies, the ones that land you in courtrooms or headlines, the small ones, the ones you've turned into habits. I'll start exercising next Monday. That comment from my partner didn't really hurt. I'm fine. I'm just tired. This job is temporary. This relationship will get better once things calm down. Each of these is a brick, and you are the bricklayer of your own cell. Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, who survived the Soviet Gulag and watched an empire built on systematic deception, once wrote something that sounds like it belongs in a history textbook. But listen to it as if he's speaking directly to your morning routine. Let him not brag of his progressive views, boast of his status as an academician or a recognized artist, a distinguished citizen or general. Let him say to himself plainly, I am cattle, I am a coward, I seek only warmth and to eat my fill. That's not about Stalin. That's about the moment you choose comfort over truth, your own truth, the truth that you are capable of more, that you are avoiding something, that you are slowly disappearing into a life you never chose. Here's the uncomfortable realization that both Solzhenitsyn and Václav Havel came to from opposite sides of the Iron Curtain. No external lie can enslave you unless you have already agreed to live inside a smaller, quieter lie of your own. Think of the last time you knew something was wrong. A job that drained your spirit, a friendship where you did all the giving, a belief you inherited from your parents that you've never questioned, and you told yourself a story to make it bearable. It's not that bad. Everyone feels this way. I'll deal with it later when I have more energy. That story is your personal gulag. No guards, no barbed wire, just you, your own voice, and a slowly shrinking sense of what you thought your life could become. Václav Havel, a playwright who became the president of a free Czechoslovakia, understood this deeper layer because he lived under a regime that turned lying into a national industry. In his essay, The Power of the Powerless, he wrote, "There is obviously something in human beings which responds to this system. Human beings are compelled to live within a lie, but they can be compelled to do so only because they are in fact capable of living in this way. Therefore, not only does the system alienate humanity, but at the same time, alienated humanity supports this system as its own involuntary master plan." Read that again slowly. Havel is saying, the system doesn't just happen to you. You collaborate with it, not because you're evil, but because you've learned to live inside a lie. And once you're comfortable there, any larger lie can move in and set up furniture. And when millions of people each live inside their own small lie, the lie of, I'm fine, it's not my problem, I'll speak up later, those small lies aggregate into something massive. A culture of silence, a society that accepts the big lie because no one wants to be the first to stop pretending. The world is not enslaved by tyrants alone. It is enslaved by the quiet agreement of ordinary people who have forgotten how to tell themselves the truth. So the question is not, how do I fight the big lie out there? At least, not yet. The first question is much smaller, much harder, much more private. What lie are you living inside right now that you have stopped noticing? Solzhenitsyn's most radical instruction wasn't to start a revolution or sign a petition. It was deceptively simple. In his essay, Live Not by Lies, written the day before his exile, he said, "And therein we find, neglected by us, the simplest, the most accessible key to our liberation, a personal non-participation in lies. Even if all is covered by lies, even if all is under their rule, let us resist in the smallest way. Let their rule hold not through me. Notice the scale, not destroy the system, not overthrow the government, just don't participate. And participation begins with your own mouth, your own nodding head, your own silence when you should speak. Havel called this living within the truth. He saw it not as a moral badge, but as an act of sabotage against any system, political or personal, that runs on your quiet agreement. If the main pillar of the system is living a lie, then it is not surprising that the fundamental threat to it is living the truth. This is why the truth must be suppressed more severely than anything else. But here's what both men understood that most of us forget. The truth cannot be suppressed in one person. You can burn books, silence journalists, rewrite history, but you cannot force a single human being to stop telling themselves the truth in the privacy of their own mind. That is where freedom lives, and that is where you have already surrendered it, not to any regime, but to your own exhaustion, your own fear, your own laziness. Try a small experiment today. Just 1 hour. Don't say yes when you mean no. Don't laugh at a joke you find cruel. Don't check your phone to escape a feeling you promised yourself you'd sit with. Don't agree with an opinion you don't hold just to avoid an argument. You'll notice something strange. The world doesn't collapse, but you feel different, raw, exposed, and quietly, secretly, powerful. Because you've stopped being a willing participant. You've stopped being cattle. Solzhenitsyn put it bluntly. One man who stopped lying could bring down a tyranny, not 10,000, one, because tyranny, whether it's a political regime or the quiet desperation of a life half-lived, depends on everyone playing along. The moment one person refuses, the spell is broken. Havel described this brittleness beautifully. The crust presented by the life of lies is made of strange stuff. As long as it seals off hermetically the entire society, it appears to be made of stone. But the moment someone breaks through in one place, when one person cries out, "The Emperor is naked," when a single person breaks the rules of the game, thus exposing it as a game, everything suddenly appears in another light, and the whole crust seems then to be made of a tissue on the point of tearing. You are that someone. Not because you're special, but because you are one. And every tyranny, every quiet desperation, every wasted year of your life depends on you forgetting that simple fact. Now, you might be thinking, but my lies are small. They don't hurt anyone. They help me cope, and that's exactly how it works. The big lie always recruits the small lie. The regime in Soviet Russia didn't ask people to believe that communism would create paradise overnight. It just asked them to nod along at meetings, to repeat a slogan now and then, to look away when a neighbor disappeared. Small acts, tiny betrayals. Repeated daily, your life works the same way. You don't wake up and decide to waste a decade. You just decide to scroll for 10 more minutes, to skip the hard conversation, to postpone the dream until next year. Small lies, tiny betrayals, repeated daily, and one day you look up and you're 50, and you don't recognize yourself. Solzhenitsyn saw this clearly. He wasn't just writing about politics. He was writing about the human soul's tendency to sell itself for comfort. That's why he could say, "We are approaching the brink. Already a universal spiritual demise is upon us. A physical one is about to flare up and engulf us and our children, while we continue to smile sheepishly and babble. But what can we do to stop it? We haven't the strength. But we can do everything, even if we comfort and lie to ourselves that this is not so. It is not they who are guilty of everything, but we ourselves, only we." Read that last sentence again. It is not they who are guilty of everything, but we ourselves, only we. That's the hardest truth. Not because it's complicated, but because it leaves you nowhere to hide. No villain to blame, no system to protest, just you, your choices, and the quiet accumulation of lies you've told yourself to make those choices feel okay. So what do? You start small, not with a grand gesture, not with a manifesto. You start with the next sentence you speak. Is it true? The next time you nod your head, do you mean it? The next time you feel that familiar dullness, do you name it, or do you reach for your phone? Living within the truth is not a one-time event. It's 1,000 tiny decisions, made over and over until the lie feels foreign and the truth feels like home. Havel wrote that the dissidents who toppled communism in Czechoslovakia were not heroes by nature. They were individuals who were willing to live within the truth, even when things were at their worst. They could equally have been poets, painters, musicians, or simply ordinary citizens who were able to maintain their human dignity. One thing, however, seems clear. The attempt at political reform was not the cause of society's reawakening, but rather the final outcome of that reawakening. The reawakening happens first inside you. Then it spreads. Not because you preach, but because you become a different kind of person. One who cannot be bought, bullied, or bored into silence. You don't have to save the world, you just have to stop lying to yourself. That's the whole revolution. That's the whole escape. And when you do, when you finally decide to live not by lies, something shifts. Not the world, at first, just the geography of your own chest. The knot loosens, the fog clears a little, and you realize you were never the victim of the big lie. You were just a willing participant in your own small one. And now, you don't have to be. If this quiet realization stayed with you, if something in it recognized you, then you already know where to go next. Silent Mind Academy. Not for answers, for the courage to keep asking.